Good morning. Welcome to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish along with George Kurtz. It is fantasy baseball draft season. We are just a couple of weeks away from opening day. Great to be back here with you. I know drafts are in full swing this weekend, next weekend, the most popular weekends to draft in fantasy baseball. We're going to break it all down for you. Got a lot of news to go over here on the show. And of course, Grapefruit League action starting 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. Cactus League action coming as well all weekend long. George, great to be back with you here, of course, on Fantasy Sports Today. And rite of passage, I guess, every year is assuming that we're going to start off one of these shows. I don't know when. I mean, I figure like the 4 shows we do in March, right? With significant injuries in fantasy baseball. And we got our fair share of them this week, to say the least. In fact, on Friday, it was revealed that Yankee starter Garrett Cole is going to have some testing done on his elbow. If there's any advice I think that we gave out over the last few weeks, it was that, I mean, you never root for this sort of thing, and I don't play the I told you so game. I know a lot of fantasy analysts do that. I don't do that here. I think it's just stupid. But this was a concern. I mean, honestly, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. George was like, this just, last year this happened. We were like, oh boy, he may miss the year. He ended up getting through it, but it does seem like when these injuries happen, you sort of expect the unexpected, and I think that's what the Yankees are going to go through this now. And personally, I have no insight on this, and I don't know how it's going to turn out, but he's pretty much like an undraftable fantasy player, I think, if you're drafting this weekend. I hate to say it because he's had a fantastic career, Hall of Fame maybe, I guess. We'll dive into that in another day. But elbow issues are just not a player that you can take on fantasy draft day. I guess we'll wait to get an update next week.
Yeah, we just found out about this about 9 hours ago, right? It came up at 11 o'clock Eastern last night. So we're still delving into this. I know I was on SportsGrid when it happened, and I am not a happy camper for a couple of reasons. Obviously, I'm a Yankee fan, so that would just pretty much just about sink the Yankees if he's out long-term here. They're already without Louis Heel, who's out with a lat injury until June. So they have problems all over the place here. Now, Cole pitched on Thursday in the spring training game, and I watched the game. He was fine, and his final line was he gave up 6 runs, but the defense was pathetic. Volpe made a couple of mistakes there that extended the inning there. His velocity was good, but he came out of the game saying he felt something. So never a good sign when you say he felt something. If you're an optimist, all right, hey, no big deal. He felt it. He's okay. He'll miss a start or two. But I kind of lean to where you're going with this. This is not good news at all. I don't expect good things to happen here. I think you're going to see now Will Warren in the rotation. Stroman will be in the rotation for Louis Hill. Will Warren will be in the rotation for Garrett Cole. And by the way, there's nobody after that. Carlos Carrasco will be the next starter for the Yankees if somebody else goes down. You mentioned fantasy. Craig, my home league draft is on Monday. Last night, by midnight, we had to have our keepers in. I have Garrett Cole. All right, and I had him as a 6th-round keeper, and I was planning on keeping him. All right, 6th round is solid value. Not great. You lose the round, you draft the guy in. And the first thing I did, I got out, had to text my brother because he's the commissioner. I can't keep Cole anymore. It's about 11. I did this right at midnight. I'm like, who do I keep, Craig? DeGrom. I had DeGrom in round 21. I had a whole bunch of injured guys. DeGrom in round 21. Salvador Perez in round 11. Walker Buehler in round 10. Because guess what? I traded Shane McClanahan about 6 hours earlier, or else he would have been my keeper in round 21. So everything's went wrong for me here. I ended up choosing DeGrom, by the way. We always need pitching. We'll see what I can get out of DeGrom. Yeah. I know he's not going to make 30 starts, but we'll see what we get here. So, like I said, the Garrett Cole injury, I was not happy last night. Still not happy.
No, and look, aside from being a Yankees fan, look, no one's rooting for this. It's just it happens every spring. Players go down, and this is just one of those that we'll wait and see. But anytime a player is feeling something as a pitcher, it's almost immediately a shutdown for a week or two. So to think that Cole would even start the season with the team would seem unrealistic, and we don't know the outcome of that. We know already Giancarlo Stanton is going to miss a significant portion, at least of the early part of the season, and Luis Heel, who's going to be out 3 months. Other news this week, the A's just keep spending money. How about that? Who would have thought we would have an offseason with that? Lawrence Butler signs a contract extension. He was really good, reality and fantasy last year. Juan Soto having some problems in the outfield. Not really worried about that, to be honest. Just worried about his offense. That's all you really need from him. Tyler Naquin, by the way, is resuming playing baseball with the Guardians. There is another injury, I guess, that we probably would have let off the show with this week if Garrett Cole's injury hadn't happened. That's another one to Grayson Rodriguez of the Baltimore Orioles. I mean, this is, George, one of the more unfortunate situations. Remember, several years ago, 3 years ago, like, this is the top pitching prospect. He just, has not been able to stay healthy for one reason or another, back issues, arm issues. And so the Orioles got to be scrambling too, in a similar way to the Yankees. They did not re-sign Corbin Burnes, although Burnes did say this week, telling the media, that the Orioles did make a very competitive offer. He just chose to go to Arizona. But this puts Baltimore behind the eight ball a little bit too. But the one thing that I would say, and you're going to see this, George, a lot on social media this week, and you're going to see it next week too, this is just not the way that baseball GMs operate. They don't operate like fantasy owners, meaning that if somebody goes down, they don't immediately try to make a trade because they know that the other GMs are going to feel like they're desperate. So let's talk in June. Let's talk in July. Teams are going to say the right thing, put the right face on, and say, hey, look, we really like the guys we have internally. Baltimore's going to say it. New York is going to say it. But again, come trade deadline, that's when things start to heat up.
You're correct. No one wants to be taken advantage of, right, in Major League Baseball. So that's what they go out here. Now, Grayson Rodriguez, by the way, has a triceps injury. So a little different here, but his velocity was down, Craig. He was throwing 89.5. So there was all sorts of red flags that went up there with Grayson. But you're right about that rotation. However long Grayson's out. And by the way, what is he, number 2? We're not talking an ace, so he may be that one day, but he's not quite there yet. Number 2, number 3. But their rotation right now is Zach Eflin, the immortal Charlie Morton, who just does not die, Dean Kramer, all right, the Japanese import Sagano, Albert Suarez, Cade Povich. You already said it. I thought they made a massive mistake not re-signing Burnes or getting some kind of ace here. Instead of rolling with these guys over a long season, good luck. Good luck to the Orioles here. We are the betting network here. You may want to seriously consider looking at the Boston Red Sox to win this division. Now, I buy it every year. Every year I buy in on the Toronto Blue Jays, and they never get it done here. And they're a mess also because what are they going to do with Vladimir Guerrero if they get off to a slow start? Do they trade him by the deadline?
Yeah,
but they're 13-1. 13-1. Really good number there, but this may not be the Yankees are rolling through the American League or the American League East like we thought.
Yeah, I would not buy on the Blue Jays. By the way, Lawrence Butler's a pretty polarizing fantasy name too. He signed a 7-year, $65 million contract. George, I don't know what your theory is on players. I mean, did Butler really come out of nowhere? That's not fair to say, but his numbers last year surprised, that's fair to say, a lot of people. What do you do with players like this that have a surprising first season, that now sign this contract, immediately? So he's taken care of for life, $65 million. That's what that is, buying out some arbitration years. Honestly, George, that's more or less the deal. Do you buy players like this, or you want to see it twice?
I call it 1 year wonders. And when I say that, that doesn't mean he can't do it again. But for me, I'm probably not taking him. All right, because I need you to do it again. You need to do it twice for me, as you just mentioned it. Then I'll buy in. 1 year, no. That's not to say I won't. I'm going to play in 8-10 leagues. Not to mention I won't have him in any league, but I won't be aiming to have him in any leagues. I need you to do it again. I need to be sure about it. I always use the little term here that I need to look at the back of your baseball card. Yeah, I am that old. And I know what you're going to do over and over again. I like that with baseball. I can chalk you up for this. I can chalk you up for that, and start counting all things I don't need anymore. If he was a big-time base stealer, I might be different here because I do generally struggle with drafting stolen bases, so it's an issue of mine. But I need to see him do it again. Plus, we don't know how Sacramento's going to play yet for hitting. It has to be better than Oakland, right? Oakland was pretty much a pitcher's paradise there.
All right, let's do this. We're going to preview the National League West here on the show today. We'll start off with the San Diego Padres. Made some moves in the offseason. Is it enough to catch the Dodgers? And who's in play for you come fantasy baseball draft day? You're watching Fantasy Sports Today. We'll be right back.
Is that kind of helpful when it comes to preparing for a major? Is that you're just like 1 foot in front of you at this point?
Ideally come to a place here at Bay Hill where I've had good success in the past. I've only played it the last 21, 2, 3, and 4. But I've played it well, and and I really like that we're heading there with where I'm at right now. I think it's going to tell me a lot.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. We're just not beating the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look us there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Big news out of New York. Mitchell Robinson cleared for 5-on-5. OG Anunoby cleared for 5-on-5. That's big news for the Knicks as they start to get themselves healthy. It's about constructing the right roster, the combination of veterans, young guys, and transfers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. I think it's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back, Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. Let's take our first look at the San Diego Padres from a fantasy aspect this season. And more or less a run-it-back team, feels like more or less going into the season. Some tweaks, some changes, but nothing, I would say, overly significant. So let's get into it here a little bit, George. Luis Arias, who they traded for last year, you pretty much, I mean, he was hurt a little bit, but you know exactly what you're getting, which is batting average, and that's it. So just be very well aware if that's what you're doing. Tatis, okay year last year. Jackson Merrill, they're waiting for the big breakout. Manny Machado's as reliable as it gets. A boring fantasy pick at this point. Jake Cronenworth, Xander Bogaerts has not proven to be what the Padres thought he would be, but hopefully there is a bounce back coming eventually. And then the back end of the lineup, honestly, not that great. Connor Joe, Jason Hayward, Elias Diaz at catcher. Profar has moved on to Atlanta. So, George, I mean, look, when you're competing with the Dodgers, I don't know that there's much more you could even do here. Like, it wouldn't really matter from a reality standpoint, from a fantasy standpoint. Machado is still that boring pick that, some people make, some people don't. But you look at it there, he's always going to be 25 home runs. He's always going to be 100 runs driven in. I mean, this is who he's been forever, and it's a boring pick. And then the sexy pick is always Fernando Tatis Jr., but sometimes you just don't know what you're going to get from this guy. Staying on the field, is it 100 with 30 steals? Is it just 20 home runs? Sometimes if you're a risky player, he's worth the investment. But that's just kind of where the Padres are at. They sort of decided, I feel like, hey, let's run it back, see where we go with it.
Yeah, there's some ownership issues as well, right? The owner passed away here, so it always makes you wonder what they may or may not do there as far as adding players. Listen, I have no problem with Machado. All right, none at all. I think he's a very good player. Third base is shallow, to put it nicely. I think the only third baseman I would take over Manny would be obviously Jose Ramirez. Rafael Devers, let's see when he starts. He's still not playing yet. Maybe this weekend, maybe next week. We'll see there. Bregman would be in this conversation as well, but I would probably take Machado over Bregman. Tatis, is he that? I mean, listen, we're taking him. He's a top 10 outfield, but where's that superstardom? Where's that first-round pick where he's going to carry your fantasy team? We really haven't seen that yet here. Where is Merrill that guy now? Is he that guy you want over Tatis? Maybe. Maybe. Like I said, I don't think I can say that yet, especially for the way I draft. Once again, I need to see Merrill do it again, although I would have very little problem drafting Merrill if it came to that here. So they should hit. So they'll be an above-average offense here. So I think they're going to compete with the Dodgers. No, I think they will compete for a wild card spot. I don't think anybody's competing with the Dodgers. All right, I just don't. But I think they'll compete for a wild card spot along with teams like the Mets, the Braves, the Arizona Diamondbacks in their own division. Those will be your wild card contenders for me here. But I just wonder, Craig, Will they make that addition during the season that they're going to need? Like every team needs to make that addition. Will they be one of the more aggressive teams in doing that? And I don't think they will.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're right, George. I mean, part of it is that whole ownership situation with the family. It does seem to me that played a factor in the offseason. But the Padres' payroll already very high, considering all those signings that they made with Machado, with Xander Bogaerts, and some other players. As far as their pitching is concerned, this is a very solid pitching staff. I mean, Cease, King, Darvish, and then Nick Pivetta, 1 through 4. That's going to carry them through the season. Now, we know that's not going to last because it just doesn't last in Major League Baseball. And then Hart is at the back end of the rotation. But Cease is obviously phenomenal. There was actually some talk they may trade him, George, in the offseason. Didn't get that one. King has been, great whenever he is started for the Padres too. Darvish is on the back nine. They signed Nick Pivetta. So, solid staff. And the Padres always do seem to have prospects in waiting too. So I would imagine that I would have no problem fronting my rotation with Dylan Cease. And then, you're getting 2s and 3s in your fantasy rotation. But generally speaking, through the years, the Padres have always had a pretty solid fantasy rotation. I think that this year is no different, at least 1 through 4.
Assuming they stay on the team, right? You already said it. Cease was mentioned in trade talks here. A little surprised the Mets haven't gone after him hard. The Mets have the prospects to go and get him if San Diego is truly serious about trading Cease. Michael King, I said this a couple times last year. The Padres may end up winning that deal with the Yankees as far as Soto's concerned, right? The Yankees had him for 1 year, went to the World Series, great year, but now you don't have him, where King can be more of a long term here. But King's also a free agent at the end of the year. And there's some speculation that he might be the top free agent pitcher next offseason, which is just wild. I'll let you know how it's a little thin there as far as pitching next offseason. But King is been that good a pitcher here. We'll see if they keep him. If they don't want, maybe they're not going to want to pay him what his freight going to be next year, Craig. So maybe he'll be on the move at some point this year as well. Here, I thought it was a great signing of Pivetta, that they got him cheap because for whatever reason the market wasn't there for him. So I think that's good. If they keep this rotation, Cease, King, Darvish, Pivetta, we'll see what Hart can bring here. It's a good rotation. Right, it's a good rotation. Should keep them in contention here. But as you said it, they're going to have injuries. Everybody does. We'll see how that fluctuates out. I said I'm curious. Will they trade Cease? And I don't know why I said Seal. I think my daughter sent me a picture of a seal yesterday. That's why. Will they trade Cease and/or Michael King?
Now, bullpen-wise, I think that this is one to watch, George. I mean, Robert Suarez is so good for them, but he is 34 years old. He's had a horrendous spring. They do have some closers in waiting here. I'm not saying that Suarez is off my board or anything like that, but I think I like the handcuffs better in San Diego than I do the starters. In fact, they have this guy, Sean Reynolds, who was so good for them last year. He only pitched in about 10 games, but he's a converted hitter, now relief pitcher. I mean, some staggering numbers. I think somebody like that or even some handcuffs there is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay away from Suarez on draft day.
Plus, we've heard once again that he can be traded, that he might be the pitcher they move on the market because, once again, named pitcher. You can get something for him, and they have guys in waiting here. You and I have talked about closers on every show, right? It's almost good luck. You draft a closer early, you're going to sort of get what you deserve. All right, that sort of thing here. None of them, very few of them are locked in where you can count on them from this point forward, right? They're at least half, probably more than half, by the time the All-Star break comes around, aren't closing anymore. Could be injury, could be management decision, could be they effectively just suck, that sort of thing. So close is always a very volatile position.
Yeah, definitely so. Matt Waldron, Sam says, in the mix too. A knuckleball closer, Sam? Knuckleball closer?
Ain't happening.
I'd like to see that happen. That would be cool. Love those knuckleballers. All right, coming up next, changing of the guard in San Francisco. Buster Posey now running the organization. So what does that mean from a fantasy standpoint? We'll dive into that next. And then we'll spend some time on the Dodgers. We could do the whole show on the Dodgers. You could basically take all of the Dodgers and just run your fantasy team with LA. We'll be right back.
Is that kind of helpful when it comes to preparing for a major? Is that you're just like 1 foot in front of you at this point?
Ideally come to a place here at Bay Hill where I've had good success in the past. I've only played it the last 21, 2, 3, and 4. So, but I've played it well, and I really like that we're heading there with where I'm at right now. I think it's going to tell me a lot.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. We're just not being the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Forget about it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Big news out of New York. Mitchell Robinson cleared for 5-on-5. OG Anunoby cleared for 5-on-5. That's big news for the Knicks as they start to get themselves healthy. It's about constructing the right roster, the combination of veterans, young guys, and transfers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. I think it's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. Who would have thought the San Francisco Giants' most valuable fantasy player last year would have been a relief pitcher that didn't save a lot of games? We'll get to that here in just a minute, but let's start with their offensive lineup. Big change for the Giants. Farhan Zaidi is out. Buster Posey is in. So what does that mean for lineups, strategy? George, this is a significant pivot in baseball to bring back a player that, not to say he's not into analytics, but it is like the opposite of what everyone else is doing, just taking one of the best catchers we've seen over the past 20 years, thrusting him into a president's role. Here's what their lineup will look like. The Giants have been begging players to sign for years there and have had an impossible time doing it. Everybody who they offer a contract to, Correa, Judge, no one wants to take it. They finally got somebody to take their money. Willie Adames, who's going to bat second for them this season. They also gave Jung-Hoo Lee a ton of money last year out of the KBO. I picked him in fantasy last year. It lasted a month, and that was it. Lost him for the year. Matt Chapman, Helio Ramos, Mike Yastrzemski will bat sixth. Boy, Tyler Fitzgerald, what a shock this guy was when he came up last year. He was like the hottest player in baseball for a month. Girard Encarnacion, I have a feeling that's going to fluctuate at DH. Some other players in play there, and then Patrick Bailey at catcher. So, George, Giants probably just throwing their hands up in the air. Like, what are we going to do here? You know, like we got to fight against the Dodgers. We can't, nobody wants to sign with us here. I don't know what happened to the city of San Francisco, one of my favorite cities. I guess nobody wants to play there anymore. Trying to give out long-term contracts and money to players that don't want to take it. So this is what you get with an offensive lineup. You get Willie Adames for $200 million. I don't know. Looks okay to me. I'll probably go back in on Jung-Hoo Lee. The Giants had to see something, right? When they gave him that contract, I can't imagine he's like a nothing. So I'll jump back in there. Tyler Fitzgerald, I don't know. Maybe I would take a shot there. Not a ton that I love here. I guess really their best fantasy player last year, fair to say, on offense was Helio Ramos. Is that fair?
That is fair, right? And Ramos was a top prospect at one point who finally realized it last season, and I think he'll be solid again. Once again, we start 5 outfielders in most fantasy leagues. In a 12-team league, that's 60 outfielders. There are 30 teams. I mean, just every team has to need 2 outfielders on average here that we're drafting, right? And this is not even talking about DHs, utility, your bench here. So every outfielder gets taken here. So, yeah, I'm certainly interested in Ramos, and I think he's better. I think he's an outfielder 3, outfielder 4, you know. I think part of the problem with San Fran as far as attracting free agents is it's hard to hit the ball out if you're a left-hander, right? You don't pull that ball down the line. That stadium gets real big or real quick. You know, so that's an issue. You're a right-hander, you shouldn't have as many problems, assuming your power is the pull. If your power is the opposite way, well, then you have the problem. You know, so I think Adames will be okay. Do I think he's going to do as well as he did in Milwaukee? No, Milwaukee's a bandbox, All right, you can really hit the ball flies out everywhere there. You know, San Fran's going to definitely hurt his numbers somewhat here. You know, why else aren't people going there? I don't know. You mentioned Aaron Judge. San Fran offered more money than the Yankees did. They offered $400 million.
Yeah.
San Diego, I think, offered more money than both, and Judge still went back to the Yankees. Not a surprise.
Right.
Correa was a whole mess with the injuries and what was going on there.
I also get what I'm saying, though, right?
Yes. They keep trying. It's not their fault. They keep trying. They do, and it's just not working here. Bottom line is this lineup. You know, Chapman, okay. You know, if you're late at third base and he's what's left, fine. Got to do what you got to do. But there's not a lot to like here.
No. All right. Pitching wise, you probably have two targets here: Logan Webb, Robbie Ray. Fair to say, if Robbie Ray is right, I think that's a good upside. Verlander is continuing his career and chasing numbers, but I'm not chasing him. Jordan Hicks, pretty good 4 or 5 inning pitcher, I think. And then Kyle Harrison went from maybe top left-handed pitching prospect in baseball now to the back end of the Giants rotation here. But I'm going to skip ahead of this. Logan Webb, obviously, if you have him as SP1, no problem. Let's talk about what happened with the Giants bullpen, George. So Camilo Doval, who is one of those typical players, George, who we looked at and said he's an elite closer in baseball, lost the job completely, sent to the minors. They used this guy, Ryan Walker. He was the Giants' most valuable fantasy player last year. He won 10 games, he saved 10 games, and he struck out 99. George, he's the closer for the Giants. Now, again, a lot of luck involved, close games, 10 wins, right? But I don't know. How do you feel about it? I mean, this is like no track record kind of guy, probably going to get closing opportunities again. I don't think they're going to hand this back to Doval.
No, it's Walker's the guy you want. ERA was under 2, WHIP was under 1. He had a great year. I keep saying I put my close at the tiers, right? Lock guys, second tier guys who, okay, I think, and then third tier guys, who the hell knows? He's in the second tier for me. Only done it 1 year. He falls apart too. They'll go back to Doval or somebody else here. But Walker is the guy I want right now.
Yeah, I just kind of, that season that he had last year, I mean, so many strikeouts and wins, just so hard to repeat. But I would have never bet against Doval.
Is that kind of helpful when it comes to preparing for a major? Is that you're just like 1 foot in front of you at this point?
Ideally come to a place here at Bay Hill where I've had good success in the past. I've only played it the last 21, 2, 3, and 4. So, but I've played it well, and I really like that we're heading there with where I'm at right now. I think it's going to tell me a lot.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not beating the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Forget about it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Big news out of New York. Mitchell Robinson cleared for 5-on-5. OG Anunoby cleared for 5-on-5. That's big news for the Knicks as they start to get themselves healthy. It's about constructing the right roster, the combination of veterans, young guys, and transfers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. I think it's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. The Dodgers certainly heavy favorites to, win it all. I mean, they got the best player on the planet. They added some nice offseason free agents again. They continue to spend money, defer money, and you really could probably field their team in fantasy and do pretty well. So Shohei Ohtani, as of right now, when we're doing the show, it doesn't look like he's going to start the season pitching, but certainly you could still draft him number one overall. I mean, the guy's going to be healthy, hit 50, steal 30. What's left to say about this guy? He's the best player we've ever seen play baseball. I mean, best player I've ever seen play baseball. Mookie Betts is going to play short. Give you some extra qualification there. He missed some time last year. So did Freddie Freeman. He was the postseason hero. You know exactly what he's doing. Teoscar Hernandez, not as good as the first three, but the best lineup spot of them all. So Teoscar, could he drive in 150 runs? I think that's possible for him this season. He's going to have so much traffic on the base paths. Mac Muncy, Will Smith, Michael Conforto said, I want to win a ring, so I'll go there. Tommy Edman is back. Chris Taylor's also in the mix. And then they signed Hae-Sung Kim as well, who I don't know a ton about other than looking at his international numbers. But it's as good as a lineup and as good as a team, George, as we've really ever seen. You know, strange things can happen, certainly over the course of the season. And we did see it happen with the Dodgers last year. Freeman got hurt. Mookie Betts got hurt. But they're just going to find ways to fill it in. And I know MLB.com just recently released like the top prospects list. I think the Dodgers still have like a top 10 farm system too. So Rich just keep on getting richer, as they say. And the middle of that lineup, I mean, imagine being Muncy or Teoscar Hernandez, George. Like if you're in an RBI league, how many RBIs are these guys going to get? I mean, Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, that's going to be insane.
Yeah, I think if you're just going to Ohtani should be your number one pick overall. I think you don't want him to pitch, right? Especially in a weekly lineup league, because you got to make that decision anyway. Oh God, do I want to put him in my starting pitcher? Which you almost never do if you can only put him in one spot. You always want him as the hitter. I don't think we're going to see him pitch until June, somewhere around there. I think they'll be very slow and bring him along. I mean, this rotation is nuts. Yamamoto, Snell, Glasnow, Sasaki, Gonsolin, Dustin May, Kershaw's got to be involved here at some point. These guys are never going to throw more than 5-6 innings. They're not going to need to because they're going to have a six-man rotation. Then you put in the offense here. And Yahoo, by the way, Mookie Betts also qualified at second base, shortstop, outfield. I mean, that's extreme value. I know I have the 6th overall pick in my home league on Monday, and I have Mookie Betts circled. I love versatility. I love the fact that I can move him around when injuries hit. Hopefully not to him here. Ohtani is going to be the first person drafted in that league. Freeman's going to go around, round 2. Muncy, round 6, round 7. Third base is shallow. He may strike out a lot, so points leagues you may want to worry about, but he's going to hit 30-plus home runs and drive in a gazillion runs. Everybody is there. All right, I agree with you about Teoscar. I don't know about 150, but he's going to have an excellent season as well. No wonder why he went back here. Granted, he didn't get a better contract someplace else, but he knows he's going to have a big season here. So hard not to like the Dodgers. No shock here. We love the Dodgers here. What was the joke you made here? You can just draft their team, and that can be your fantasy team. You really could. I mean, you're going to get a couple extra outfielders, but you definitely could.
Yeah, I mean, the pitching is. I mean, the pitch is going to be some high risk. I mean, we understand that, but Snell's coming off incredible year. Yamamoto, everybody opening day was like, oh, he's not going to be good. And then he was great the rest of the season. Sasaki, we've seen him once, so it's really hard to judge anything with spring training, but he was one of the most coveted free agent pitchers out there. They got him too. So I think I'd throw that dart on him too, George. I think I'd be willing to take that chance. And, Kershaw is with the Dodgers, so I assume at some point he's going to pitch with them. And you mentioned Dustin May. I mean, those are like the last round kind of picks at this point. Let's not forget, a couple of years ago, Tony Gonsolin was fighting it out for the Cy Young Award as well. So this is just an incredible rotation. Glasnow maybe is the one, George, that I probably would pause a little bit just because of the injury history. But Snell would be on my radar. Yamamoto, of course, on my radar. And I am a glutton for this punishment. I would tell you this. And by the way, we're not going to spend a ton of time on the relief pitchers. Actually, that's the one category I would stay away from them because they just use everybody. But, George, these guys who come over internationally, what is the MO? And we could go through it through the years. They're always incredible the first year. And then it's the second year and the third year that they're really not as good. But the teams cannot figure them out. They can't figure out Senga or Hideo Nomo. or Daisuke Matsuzaka. I mean, I could go back, and then all of a sudden, the second year, you're like, oh, maybe they're not as good. I think Sasaki's going to have a huge year, man. I definitely would take him this season.
My only worry with Dodger pitchers are they're going to go to a 6-man rotation, which, by the way, might be a good thing for the Japanese pitchers, right? Because that's what they're used to, pitching pretty much once a week here. But it means you're not getting 30 starts. Now you're talking about 25 if everything goes well. I don't think they're going to pitch deep into games because, let's face it, the Dodgers are playing for October. All right, the regular season, okay, whatever happens here. So they're not going to need to push these guys to go into the 7th inning here. Really, get your 5+, get your 6, and get out of here. We'll get to the bullpen. We're going to score 1,000 runs anyway. All right, so we're going to be winning every game 7-2, and you can move on here. That's my only worry here. So it'll affect my drafting of Dodger pitchers somewhat here. I think Sasaki's going to be great, by the way. I'm a Yankee fan. I wanted the Yankees to sign him. Didn't happen. Yamamoto, yeah, I'm taking him. Snell, yeah. Glasnow, I mean, all these guys, by the way. Yamamoto got hurt last year, too. Snell gets hurt a lot. All right, yeah, Glasnow is fine China. He's great when he pitches. All right, but he gets hurt a hell of a lot. Almost every year, he's not making anywhere near 25 starts. I imagine 18.5 would be the over-under there. So I think, once again, we have to worry about this with all the Dodger pitchers here. And that's another reason why, Craig, I think they'll be very careful. I think they'll baby a lot of these guys. We already know they're going to 6-man rotation. It's rare you're going to get 2-start weeks out of these guys. It'll happen every now and then, but it's rare you're going to get 2-start weeks, and they're just not going to push them. How many times are these guys going to throw more than 100 pitches in a game? They're just not. Because they're playing for October. So that's my only worry, and it's got my head spinning for my draft Monday night. I'm actually hoping, let somebody else take the Dodger pitchers. I'll take guys who I trust a little bit more here. But they are all really, really good.
I've said it every year, and the one thing I'll say, to put a bow on Ohtani is I'll never understand any fantasy site that only allows you to have Ohtani as one thing, either hitter or pitcher. Like, with all of the technology that we have in this world, and you have no ability to use this guy in a way that the Dodgers do, but you can't in fantasy, I mean, it is shameful that some of these websites did not have that. I think most have caught up to allow you to do what you want, but talk about a joke. Like, I mean, are you kidding me? With everything that we've been able to accomplish and flying things out of this world and everything else, and we can't make Ohtani a hitter or a pitcher at the same time, even if he only makes 10 starts this season. That's what makes him the most valuable asset in all of fantasy baseball. George, do you think, by the way, not a fantasy question, but reality, do you think that this year and next year are the final times we'll see rosters in Major League Baseball assembled like this? I know it's more of a reality question, but with the 2026 CBA coming to a close, I kind of feel like the super teams may go away, man. Like, I think this is it. This year, next year. I mean, I don't know for sure that a salary cap is coming, is what I'm trying to say here, but I feel like taking advantage of the system may be a thing of the past after next year. What do you think?
Oh, I think you're right. I mean, there are going to be some major changes here, right? And we're not going to be happy. So, yeah, I don't know if there'll be a cap. There'll be something. But the owners want a cap here. The only sport that really doesn't have one here. The Players Association will fight against it. But generally, the Players Association has lost the last couple of rounds, right? And I think the owners will we already know, Manfred's already said there'll be a lockout, right? That's going to be common business practice now. There'll be a lockout once this CBA ends here. I think it'll be long. It'll go into the season. I think the owners know they can afford it. They'll lock the players out for a while until the players give in. So, yeah. I think baseball, as we know it right now, will end after the 26th season.
Yeah, well, maybe one more year of this super team that the Dodgers have created, and then changes could be coming. All right, the Diamondbacks keep on fighting. All right, they added Corbin Burns. Their lineup is solid. Are the Diamondbacks a team that you want to target in fantasy? We'll go over their options next. You're watching Fantasy Today here on SportsGrid.
Is that kind of helpful when it comes to preparing for a major? Is that you're just like 1 foot in front of you at this point?
Ideally come to a place here at Bay Hill where I've had good success in the past. I've only played it the last 21, 2, 3, and 4. But I've played it well, and And I really like that we're heading there with where I'm at right now. I think it's going to tell me a lot.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
We know the Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. We're just not beating the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look us there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Forget about it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Big news out of New York. Mitchell Robinson cleared for 5-on-5. OG Anunoby cleared for 5-on-5. That's big news for the Knicks as they start to get themselves healthy. It's about constructing the right roster, the combination of veterans, young guys, and transfers.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. I think it's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Continuing our look at the National League West, let's dive into the Arizona Diamondbacks. Lots to be excited about again this season. But of course, the biggest question will be the player that everyone took in the first round last year, what you will get out of him. That's Corbin Carroll, who through about 3 months, George, looked like one of the biggest busts all time in fantasy. My gosh, what was going on with him? I know the numbers at the end of the season looked okay. He sort of rebounded a little bit, but my gosh, 230 batting average for your leadoff hitter. I know we don't look at batting average that often, but for maybe a guy like that who was drafted so high, it definitely came around late, and maybe that'll continue this year, but we'll see. Ketel Marte, batting second, arguably the best fantasy second baseman out there. Naylor comes over. He'll play first base. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Jake McCarthy, Eugenio Suarez, power and nothing else. Pavin Smith at DH, although Randall Grichuk I know is going to play some. They signed him in the offseason. Gabriel Moreno, good catcher there. And Perdomo just got signed to a longer-term extension, although I don't know that he's a huge fantasy asset there. But this is a good team, George. A good offense. Always surprising a little bit. They really, I don't think that there's a huge drop-off from letting Christian Walker go to Josh Naylor. Kind of the same offensive numbers, it feels like here. And, Walker's been dealing with injuries with Houston this spring. So, like it again, but, top two guys really are the highest drafted players. And it feels like everybody, George, in the community is going right back in on Carroll again, just assuming it was a down first half, and that's it.
Yeah, I kind of assumed that as well here, that the adjustments needed to be made. He may have been a little slow with the adjustments. The teams took the offseason, looked at his swing and figured out how to attack him. And, it took him a little bit here. So I'm not really worried about Carroll. I think he'll be fine. But once again, it's in the back of my mind. Ketel Marte had the MVP-type season last year, if not for Shohei Ohtani. Can he do it again? All right, I agree with you about Naylor. I think offensively, him and Walker's numbers will be about the same. Defensively, Walker's an ace, where Naylor may not be. Gurriel is certainly miscast as a cleanup hitter, but he's a professional hitter. He'll be all right here. McCarthy, Suarez, you said it, power, nothing. The bottom of the line was a little weak, a little quick here. But they offensively, they'll be okay. They'll be at least league average, maybe a tick above league average. I know the humidor's there as well. It pipes down the numbers a little bit, but still a hitter's ballpark there in Arizona. So I think this is a good team. Are they Dodgers good? No, but no one's Dodgers good. I do think they're a playoff team when all is said and done. I think they'll be in the wild card race there. We'll take it from there. But I think they're in the wild card race, Craig, because of their pitching much more than their hitting.
Yeah, definitely so. And Corbin Burns was the big sign in the offseason. Burns will front their rotation now to go along with Zach Gallen, who's, kind of an ace himself. Merrill Kelly, Eduardo Rodriguez, a lot of money spent on him a couple of years ago. And Brandon Pfaadt at the back end of the rotation. A lot of, folks really think that he could take another step too. Still sort of waiting on that one. But, George, this is a strong 5 to go in, and you could make the case, absolutely, the first 2 are SP1s. Gallen with some issues at the end of last season, but Burns, to me, one of the preeminent pitchers in baseball, one of the top off the board in fantasy this year.
You know, looking at that graphic we have up there for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and, man, that uniform is terrible for All-Star. Just awful. I mean, really, it makes Major League Baseball can't do a better job than that. Anyway,
well, it's done.
Baltimore.
You know that, right? They're not doing that anymore.
I would hope not.
Yeah, the All-Star, you wear your own jersey now. That's it.
Oh, good. That's the way it should be. I mean, it's silly it wasn't that way. Remember when, once again, Craig and I are old.
Gotta sell stuff.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, I know why. Who's buying that? That looks like a jersey I might have worn to my Little League All-Star game. All right, a Federal League, American League. That's just terrible. But listen, as a kid, when you didn't get to watch all the teams every week, whatever package you have, I may have only got to see the Dodgers once on Saturday baseball or Monday night baseball. Seeing all the teams at the All-Star game and all their uniforms was cool. All right, love that. So I'm glad they're going back to that. Enjoy that. As for the Diamondbacks, you signed Corbin Burns. You got Zach Gallen, who Cy Young candidate 2 years ago. Burns is great. Merrill Kelly, Eduardo Rodriguez, Brandon Pfaadt, by the way, I think is someone to watch in fantasy. Could be that breakout guy this year. Somebody I definitely have circled or highlighted on my draft cheat sheets there. But it's deep, right? We're not even talking about Jordan Montgomery, who's got all sorts of issues with ownership there because he didn't want to go anywhere. He might have been a little out of shape too, but he looks better this spring as well here. So they're deep. I like what the Diamondbacks can throw at you here. They can give you a quality start, game in, game out. I said the offense is good enough here. I really like what the Diamondbacks have done here. And if things go well here, I think they make the playoffs. And in a 5-game series, anything can happen.
So the relief situation with Arizona is really perplexing here because it feels like they have 3 or 4 potential closers. They used a lot of different guys last year. And whether it's Martinez on the end or Ginkel on the back end or A.J. Puck, who they traded for on the back end, I don't know. I kind of feel like that's the direction the Diamondbacks may go here. It's not to say to stay away from this situation with their bullpen because it's very solid, but I just don't know that one player is going to get 25 saves for this team. It didn't even come close to that last year.
Yeah, and once again, these guys are in the category 3 for me. All right. I mean, even if we are March 8th, or maybe we get more clarity by the time opening day comes on March 27th, but that may be too late for your fantasy drafts, but you've already drafted here. I mean, there's a reason why, like I said, I keep saying it. When it comes to fantasy closers, I want to draft one closer who I think he's going to, the Clase type, Devin Williams, one lockdown closer. My second closer will be, okay, I think he could keep the job. And then you get everybody else. And Puck, Martinez, Ginkel, whoever else is in the everybody else. I don't know what you're going to get. Maybe they close, maybe they don't, maybe they split it up here. But I don't think either one of these guys. I think if you tell me it's going to be Puck, I don't think he'll have the job all season. You can tell me it's going to be Martinez, I don't think he'll have the job all season. I think they split it. I think it drives us crazy on a game in, game out basis. If you're in a daily league, okay, you can just take both and try and figure out who's going to close that day. But if you're in a weekly league, like most leagues are, it's not going to be fun.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this is just a really good team in a lot of different ways. And Diamondbacks off the board early in fantasy, especially the first 2 batters with Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte. All right, so coming up next, it's the team that in the past you always wanted to make sure you had a couple of guys from this team on your roster. But the Rockies, I mean, really have just so far gone the other direction. There still are here on this team, but some big question marks. We'll run through them next on Fantasy Sports Today. Stay with us. George and Craig back right after this. Don't go away.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, well, what sports books could go there? I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
How far have the Rockies fallen in fantasy when George and I have been playing? And George and I have known each other for like 20 years here. Doing fantasy shows, you're like, God, we got to get a couple Rockies, right? Got to get and it always worked out. Like, yeah, let's grab these Rockies because we know that they're going to be having games at Coors. It's going to be great. But George, what has happened, man, to this team? You can't even take these like upswing Rockies anymore. Yes, they do have a few guys in their lineup. Okay, let's be clear. Brenton Doyle's going to lead off. He's a huge target in fantasy. He's going in, I think, 3rd round in a lot of drafts, too. I get it. Ezekiel Tovar was fantastic last year. But they used to have like 6-7 guys in every lineup, and you didn't even care. Just like, who is this guy? I don't know his name. Oh, it's fine. He's on the Rockies. I'm taking him. I don't feel that way anymore. In fact, just keep me away from the rest of this lineup outside of Doyle and Tovar. Chris Bryant, Tyro Estrada, Michael Toglia. I mean, Nolan Jones has some nice upside. I don't know if he can hit lefties. Jordan Beck, Jacob Stallings. Like, just because you're a Rocky doesn't mean you get drafted in fantasy anymore. It's just like a huge change from where it was several years ago.
The Rockies are a mismanaged organization, right? We already know this. I mean, how do you not trade Ryan McMahon last year? I mean, because you want to keep him as you're facing a franchise, and he's just not that guy. We're not talking about Todd Helton here or Larry Walker or Dante Bichette back in the day, Vinny Castillo, Andres Galarraga. Keep going on and on with guys we always love to have here. So it's not good, to put it nicely there. Listen, I'll take Doyle as an outfielder, absolutely. Tovar, shortstop. Although shortstop's very deep, but Tovar certainly had a fantastic season, still plays in Coors. I mean, listen, Coors isn't what it used to be. Once again, the humidor has calmed that down. You still want bats in Coors. But Chris Bryant, no, that ain't happening. All right, been down that road. The old fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, shame on me. Nolan Jones was awful last year, and I had him in a league or two. He was awful. I don't know what happened here. But see, he seemed to lose all confidence here. I doubt I'm touching him. I think maybe as a reserve, mentioned it earlier, every outfielder is going to get drafted. As a reserve, fine, we'll see what happens. But if he doesn't get up to a good start, he's that first guy I move on from. You know, when the hot guy that we didn't draft is available there. So there's not, I mean, as you were sort of saying, Craig, there's not a lot to like here. It's the top 3 guys, and that's it. I mean, damn, which is shocking. Just shocking to me. And we already know what we're going to say about the next group of players we're going to talk about. And I don't know if I've ever had a Rocky starting pitcher on any fantasy team.
I think I had Jeff Francis once. Remember him?
Jeff Francis. Yes, I do.
He was pretty good. Go back to the lineup here, Sam, for a second. So, like, I think 4 through 9 is a 0 interest level for me. I'd rather have Zach Veen than all of those, just because I don't know what he's going to be, and I know he's their top prospect. I think I'd rather take him late than anyone else, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that I just saw there. Because Veen has a chance to be a star. Like, do I have a clue? I thought Brendan Rodgers would be a star. I was totally wrong about that. So go figure. So we have 2 minutes left in the hour. We saved the least for last. Rockies rotation, Rockies closers. No thanks on all of these guys. Good luck to you. Yeah, I mean, German Marquez on the road, maybe. Do you have anything else to add here? Not interested in any of these except Marquez, late, and on the road. If I can stream, if I can't, then he's a no too.
I generally only cross people off on my draft cheat, my cheat sheets if they're hurt. But the Rockies, I'll just cross. I'm not. No, I don't. I mean, I just don't here. I'm not drafting someone to play him on the road or hope he has a good road start that week. And even if he did that, by the way, well, he's still not starting against the Dodgers. All right, probably not against the Mets or against Philadelphia. I mean, no. I mean, what, are you going to get 5 starts of the year? No, I'm not. I'm not playing that game. So that's it. I think Marquez could be good on a regular ballpark. Yeah, I think Marquez can play. I have drafted their closers, but not this year. They're another team where it's just hodgepodge. You know, maybe it's Kinley, maybe it's Vordnick. Who knows? You know, and by the way, just because they're a bad team, closers are still valuable. We need every save we can possibly get here. If they had one guy, he'd probably get 20, 25 saves, but they don't. You know, I don't know if any of those guys I just mentioned, by the way, are going to be that close at the end of the year anyway. So there's nobody who's going to be throwing the baseball here that I want on the Rockies.
Yeah, no, I agree. Closer-wise, probably the first team that George and I have covered where we're just going to pass. we're just going to pass. I mean, a couple of years ago, I remember, if I'm not mistaken, I think Daniel Bard was like the closer projected. It was like that. I mean, you just have to know at this point. It's not worth the squeeze. The juice is not worth the squeeze with the Rockies. All right, hour one's in the books. Coming up next, AL West. We'll be right back.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Road management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Possible that while every other state is trying to copy New York and get that 51% tax on sports betting, is it possible that New York will actually lower their taxes? That's surprising.
The question is, of course, well, what sports books could go there? I mean, we're already at 9 that are the biggest ones out there in the market. So, I mean, who are you really missing?
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.